Batman is by far the most iconic character in DC Comics, arguably of all comics. So it's only natural that everyone wants to be Batman. And believe it or not, there has been quite a few people that have taken the title of Batman other than Bruce Wayne. Here's every person who has been Batman. Actually, two side notes here. This is only going to be a list of comic book individuals, TV and movie actors are for a future video. And there's not going to be other multiverse versions of Bruce Wayne because at the end of the day, that's still Bruce Wayne. So sit back and enjoy the rest of the video. First up is Bran from 1944's Batman number 26 in a story called The Year 3000. Bran was an everyday man living in peace as Earth had known peace for a full century when suddenly Saturn attacks. The aliens of Saturn wish to take over the entire solar system, and Earth is only a small part of its plan. In a matter of days, citizens of Earth are put in concentration camps. But Bran and his friend Ricky find hope as they find a time capsule from the year 1939 and learn about the liberation of America in 1776. Impassioned by history, Bran pleads to his fellow Earthlings to stand up and fight for their freedom, regardless of the odds, because the love of liberty was enough for their ancestors. But with no luck, Bran finds Ricky viewing images of Batman and Robin. This sparks an idea. Bran and Ricky begin attacking Saturn bases and concentration camps, eventually inspiring Earthlings and Centurions to take action. This leads to a massive battle, with Earth as the victors. But for Batman, this wasn't enough. He encourages Earth to attack Saturn so Saturn could never attack them again. And guys, if you haven't already noticed, this book was written during World War II. There was no subtlety with what the Americans, let alone the entire world, was going through. Earth agrees with Batman, attacks Saturn, and finds out that the individuals they were fighting were actually robots, and the actual citizens of Saturn were saved. If you don't like politics in your comics, you may want to steer away from this one. In 1949's Batman number 55, Bruce Wayne, under ridiculous circumstances, is working for GCPD. This clearly conflicts with his time as Batman. So, for backup reasons, Alfred is temporarily Batman so that Bruce could continue his duties for the GCPD. In 1954's World's Finest Comics number 71, Superman and Batman are forced to swap identities in order to convince Lois that Clark Kent was not Superman after she accidentally learned Clark's identity while he was saving Batman and Robin. Before Grant Morrison created the personality of Zor-En Ra was actually a planet with its own Batman, seen in 1957's Batman number 113. Although his identity was never revealed, we do know he has a massive telescope where he spies on the Batman from Earth, where he was inspired to become his own planet's Batman. In the 1990s story, Nightfall, Bruce Wayne broke his back and chose John Paul Valley to take on the mantle in his absence. This didn't last long, as Azrael proved very quickly he was the wrong choice, even after defeating Bane. When thinking about characters that have taken the mantle of Batman, none can forget Dick Grayson. But most think of his time with Damian after the events of Battle for the Cowl. But this actually happens before that, in 1994 to be exact. After the events of Zero Hour, Bruce Wayne needs a recharge and refuses to make the same mistake he did with John Paul Valley. And in the final pages of Robin number 0, Dick Grayson assumes the role of Batman. There's not many characters with an unknown secret identity, but we managed to get two on our list so far, with our second being the Batman of the 853rd century, featured in the DC 1 million event. What we do know is that a criminal from that century massacred the guards and their spouses of the asylum planet Pluto for days and made their children watch. One child in particular swore to never let an event like this happen again and spent his entire life to become Batman. I know I said I would leave out TV shows, but thankfully, Batman Beyond has had several comic series. His first miniseries was within the TV continuity, so it doesn't really count. But in Batman 700, Terry McGinnis is seen as Batman in DC's current continuity in a future where Damian is his mentor instead of Bruce Wayne. The next two characters we're going to tackle at the exact same time because they become Batman at the exact same time. During the events of Battle for the Cowl, Nightwing refuses to take up the mantle of Batman after Bruce Wayne's death in Final Crisis. Recently released from jail, Jason Todd felt he was the perfect person to take on the mantle, donned an all black batsuit wielding pistols as his weapon of choice. Tim Drake felt forced to become Batman because he couldn't let the mantle go to someone like Jason Todd. After Jason nearly killed Tim Drake with a batarang to the chest, Dick Grayson finally said enough was enough and donned the cape and cowl to bring down Jason Todd. Since we're on the subject of the children of the Batman, no one wants the Batman mantle like Damian Wayne. Famously, in Batman 666, it shows a future where Damian doesn't have the Batman or the Bat family to help influence his better half, and so he walks the line of good and evil. Batman has always operated outside of the law, but have you ever wondered what would happen if he operated within the law? During DC's New 52 era, Bruce Wayne and Batman disappeared, and James Gordon takes on the mantle. The highlights of his time as Batman are his unique super heavy batsuit nicknamed Rookie and the new villain introduced at the time, Mr. Bloom. The most recent individual to take on the mantle is Lucius Fox's son, Tim Fox, who also goes by the name Jace. During the event Future State, Bruce Wayne is assumed dead, and Jace takes on the mantle of Batman. The event only lasted 2 months, but Jace was introduced during James Tynion's Fear State story arc, where Batman was kidnapped by Scarecrow and went missing for a few weeks. Jace takes this opportunity to become Batman after he stumbles upon the Batsuit. He does eventually be told by Bruce Wayne that he needs to leave Gotham. Chase then starts to operate in New York City. His solo title, I Am Batman, was canceled shortly after. And now we are on to our multiverse Batmans. We are not covering anyone who is an alternate version of any of the other characters we've talked about so far, which leaves us with three characters in particular. First, we have the Red Sun Batman. With an unknown identity once again, he does share a similar origin to Bruce Wayne. With the murder of his parents, he swears his revenge on the captain of the police, Peter Roslov. Roslov, 20 years later, convinces Batman to kill Superman, saying that killing him would make his quest to kill Roslov easier. Batman agrees to this and devises a plan to corner Superman. And although he successfully springs the trap onto Superman, Batman ultimately commits suicide by detonating a bomb in his lower intestine. Next, we have the classic Stan Lee creation, Wayne Williams. Williams lived in a rough part of town, and after standing up to a thug, he was framed from robbery and attempted murder. In prison, he built himself to be the perfect specimen. After him and a friend get out of prison, they created a supersuit that allowed Williams to fly and have other bat like abilities. Williams becomes Batman and eventually tracks down the thug that ruined his life and kills him. Batman has always been a brutal vigilante, but none has been as brutal as Thomas Wayne. After the death of his son Bruce Wayne and his wife submerged into madness, Thomas Wayne becomes Batman, wielding two pistols, fighting the injustices of Gotham. He eventually helps Barry Allen get back to his own timeline and even eventually meets his grown son as Batman. But that's a story for another video. Well, that was a massive list, but we are finally done. Did we miss any? Who's your favorite? And who is the best Batman? Let us know down below. And remember, subscribe for more Batman News Weekly content.